Walk into any modern automotive dealership today, and you will see salespeople steering senior citizens towards $70,000 luxury crossovers, packed with blinding digital touchscreens and fragile turbochargers. Meanwhile, the practical, reliable sport utility vehicles sit ignored in the back row. I have been a mechanic for 23 years, and I am telling you right now, the complicated luxury machines will drain your retirement savings with massive electrical failures. Today, I am exposing 5 sport utility vehicles seniors can buy without hesitation. I am saving the best for number 1 because it is the ultimate retirement fortress. Let us get into it. Number 5, the 2016 to 2018 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. Starting at number 5 is a vehicle that completely removes the physical stress of automotive maintenance and delivers perfect fuel economy. The 2016 to 2018 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid represents the golden era of Toyota engineering, before their designs became overly aggressive and plagued with digital distractions. When older drivers decide to step down from a full-size truck or a heavy body-on-frame sport utility vehicle, they often buy compact crossovers that sit far too low to the ground. This forces them to strain their knees and hips to drop down into the driver's seat. Toyota engineers solved this specific geometric problem. They designed the chassis of the 4th generation RAV4 to sit at the exact hip point of an average adult. You approach the vehicle, open the door, and slide straight across into the cabin. There is 0 downward dropping and 0 upward climbing. Last spring, a retired school teacher came into my shop. She was driving a 2018 BMW X3 that she bought because the dealership convinced her she needed European luxury. She was exhausted. The suspension was harsh, the digital menus confused her, and she had just received a repair estimate for $2,500 to fix a leaking turbocharger coolant line. She asked me what she should buy instead. I sent her down the street to look at a 2017 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid with 90,000 miles listed for $16,000. She bought the Toyota and sold the BMW. She has been driving the Toyota for 14 months. Total repairs equal 1 simple oil change. She loves it because the climate controls use large physical rotary dials she can adjust without taking her eyes off the road. Here is what sits under the hood that makes it indestructible. It utilizes the 2ARF-XE 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine operating on the highly efficient Atkinson cycle. This engine uses traditional port fuel injection. It sprays gasoline directly over the intake valves, washing away carbon deposits. It completely avoids the fragile direct injection systems that choke modern engines with soot. Toyota paired this engine with their hybrid Synergy drive system. It utilizes a planetary gear set transaxle containing 2 electric motor generators. There are no physical gear shifting, no clutch packs burning up, and no steel belts snapping. It operates with smooth precision. Furthermore, the hybrid system uses regenerative braking. When you press the brake pedal, the electric motors slow the vehicle down magnetically, sending power back to the battery. Because the physical brake pads are rarely used, they routinely last past 100,000 miles. For a senior living on a fixed income, eliminating brake jobs and transmission repairs is a massive financial relief. When you inspect one of these hybrids on the used market, you must check the hybrid battery cooling fan filter. It is located under the rear passenger seat. Many owners do not know this filter exists. If the previous owner had a dog, pet hair clogs this small plastic screen. When the screen clogs, the high voltage battery overheats and degrades. Pull the plastic cover off, check the screen, and ensure the battery fan breathes freely. If it is clean, you have a vehicle that will easily surpass 300,000 miles. If this mechanical advice is helping you navigate a confusing car market, hit that subscribe button and like this video. We are building a community of drivers who refuse to be scammed by modern automotive dealerships. Number 4, the 2012 to 2014 Honda CR-V. Number 4 is a vehicle designed specifically for utilitarian ease of use and unmatched mechanical simplicity. It is the 4th generation Honda CR-V, specifically the models produced between 2012 and 2014. I specify these exact 3 years because Honda made a catastrophic error in 2015 by introducing a fragile, continuously variable transmission and a direct injected engine that suffers from severe oil dilution. The 2012 to 2014 models avoid these modern engineering disasters entirely. A few months ago, a grandfather brought me his 2013 Honda CR-V. He bought it 5 years ago with 70,000 miles for $12,000. He needed a vehicle capable of transporting a folding mobility scooter, but he did not want a massive minivan. He was now at 160,000 miles and wanted me to inspect it before giving it to his granddaughter for college. I went through the entire chassis. The The suspension was tight, the engine compression was perfect, and the transmission fluid was clean. I told him to hand over the keys without a single worry. The Honda CR-V shines in its interior ergonomics. The front and rear passenger doors open to nearly a full 90-degree angle. This wide aperture allows older drivers to enter the vehicle without twisting their spines or contorting their bodies past thick interior door panels. Furthermore, Honda engineered a completely flat floor in the rear passenger area. There is zero structural transmission tunnel hump in the middle of the floorboards. You can slide heavy groceries or walking aids directly across the floor without lifting them over obstacles. The rear cargo load floor sits incredibly low, meaning you do not have to lift heavy objects high into the air to place them in the trunk. The heartbeat of this generation is the legendary K24Z7 2.4-liter inline-4 engine. This engine block is a heavy metal fortress. It utilizes a heavy-duty steel timing chain bathed in engine oil that never requires a replacement interval. It ignores modern turbochargers and complex cylinder deactivation systems. It produces 185 horsepower, providing adequate merging power without placing undue stress on the internal rotating assembly. Honda bolted this engine to a traditional 5-speed automatic transmission. Unlike automatic transmissions engineered by other manufacturers that use complex planetary gear sets, this Honda transmission operates internally like a manual gearbox. It utilizes parallel axis, constant mesh gears engaged by independent hydraulic wet clutch packs. It shifts with crisp authority and avoids the heat-related failures of modern transmissions. When inspecting a used 4th-generation model, you must listen closely during a cold engine start. A brief, loud grinding noise lasting roughly 2 seconds indicates a failing variable timing control actuator located on the end of the intake camshaft. The internal locking pin wears out and fails to hold the actuator in place until engine oil pressure builds up. While the noise sounds terrible, it rarely causes engine failure. Replacing the actuator requires removing the valve cover and loosening the timing chain, which costs roughly $600 at an independent shop. Listen for the grind, use it to negotiate the price down, get it fixed, and drive the car for another decade. The next vehicle solves the most common physical limitation older drivers face on the highway. Number 3. The 2014 to 2018 Subaru Forester number 3 is a vehicle that solves the most common physical limitation older drivers face on the highway. As drivers age, cervical spine mobility naturally decreases. Turning your neck 90 degrees to check a blind spot becomes uncomfortable and sometimes physically impossible. Modern automotive designers exacerbate this severe issue by prioritizing sleek, sloping rooflines and thick, heavily reinforced rear pillars that completely block outward vision. Modern crossovers feel like driving a dark, enclosed submarine. Merging onto a busy interstate or simply backing out of a tight grocery store parking space becomes a tense, anxiety-inducing maneuver. You're forced to rely entirely on electronic sensors that frequently fail in heavy rain or snow. The Subaru Forester, specifically the 4th generation built from 2014 to 2018, completely rejects these dangerous modern aesthetic trends in favor of absolute functional visibility. Subaru engineers utilize a specific architectural design philosophy known universally as the greenhouse. They build the Forester with upright, perfectly vertical side windows, a massive squared-off rear windshield, and remarkably thin front A-pillars. They refuse to chop the roofline down for styling points. Furthermore, the side mirrors are mounted directly to the metal door panels rather than the traditional window corners. This specific mounting location creates a dedicated triangular glass quarter window exactly at the base of the pillar, eliminating the forward blind spot entirely. When approaching a pedestrian crosswalk or navigating a tight roundabout, this extra pane of glass provides vital lines of sight. When you sit in the driver's seat, you command a completely unobstructed panoramic view of your entire surroundings. I have a customer, a retired forester, who lives at the end of a long, unpaved mountain road in the Pacific Northwest. He bought a 2016 Subaru Forester Premium for $14,000. He needed a vehicle that could handle deep winter snow and heavily rutted mud without requiring him to manually engage complex four-wheel drive levers or lock differential hubs. He has put 60,000 miles on it over punishing, rough gravel roads. Total repairs consist of standard oil changes, one set of all-terrain tires, and a simple battery replacement. He refuses to sell it because he can actually see the road hazards before he hits them. Powering this rolling glass observation deck is the FB25 2.5-liter naturally aspirated boxer engine. Unlike traditional inline engines that push heavy pistons vertically against gravity, the boxer engine pushes pistons horizontally, opposing each other in a flat configuration. This physical layout naturally cancels out primary engine vibrations, resulting in incredibly smooth idle characteristics without relying on heavy internal balance shafts. More importantly, the flat layout allows Subaru to mount the engine block deep inside the lower chassis rails, drastically lowering the overall center of gravity. When traversing uneven, off-camber terrain or executing a sudden emergency avoidance maneuver on the highway, the heavy engine mass stays low to the pavement. This prevents the terrifying, top-heavy swaying sensation typical of tall, high-riding sport utility vehicles. The Forester excels in poor weather conditions due to its legendary symmetrical all-wheel drive system. Most crossovers use a transverse engine layout that heavily favors the front wheels, only sending power to the rear when the front tires are already aggressively slipping. The Subaru architecture is entirely different. The entire drivetrain mounts along a perfect center axis from the front bumper straight to the rear differential. The transmission and the rear drive shaft form a straight, symmetrical line. This creates perfect lateral weight distribution across the chassis. If you live in a region with heavy snowfall or frequent torrential rain, the mechanical grip provided by this balanced system operates proactively. It sends power to all four wheels seamlessly, without the sudden, jerky power transfers found in lesser, slip-and-grip crossover systems. However, when shopping for this specific generation of Forester, you must inspect the lower control arm bushings in the front suspension. To provide a soft, compliant ride over harsh pavement, Subaru utilized large rubber fluid-filled bushings that absorb heavy road impacts. Over time, the constant flexing causes the rubber to tear, and the internal hydraulic fluid leaks out. When the bushings fail completely, the front wheels lose their geometric alignment under heavy braking. The steering wheel shudders violently when applying the brakes at highway speeds, perfectly mimicking a warped brake rotor. Slide under the front bumper with a strong flashlight and inspect the large round bushings located at the rear mounting point of the front control arms. If you see deep cracks in the rubber or notice dark fluid stains running down the metal subframe, the control arms require immediate replacement. It is a $400 repair at an independent shop. You must also check the Carfax report to ensure the previous owner addressed the factory oil consumption issue. Early models of this FB25 engine utilized defective piston rings that allowed engine oil to burn in the combustion chamber. Subaru issued a massive warranty extension to replace the piston rings. Ensure this critical internal work was completed by the dealership. Once the control arms are fresh and the engine block is verified, the Forester restores your driving confidence and precise steering feel completely. Have you ever been stranded by a complicated modern vehicle or experienced a dealership trying to sell you a car with terrible claustrophobic visibility? Drop a comment down below right now. Let me know which vehicle failed you and how much the dealership tried to charge you to fix it. I read every single comment, and your shared experiences help educate and protect the entire automotive community. Number 2. The 2010 to 2015 Lexus RX 350. Number 2 steps into the luxury segment without requiring a luxury maintenance budget. Long-distance driving induces severe physical fatigue. As drivers age, their tolerance for booming highway road noise, harsh tire drone, and aggressive engine vibration decreases. Constant low-frequency vibration travels through the chassis floorboards and exhausts the human nervous system. German luxury brands charge massive premiums for vehicles that provide sensory isolation. Dealerships convince buyers that the only way to achieve a quiet cabin is to finance a brand new Mercedes-Benz or BMW. The brutal reality is, those German manufacturers engineer powertrains that self-destruct the exact moment the factory warranty expires. You secure acoustic silence, but you pay for it with shattering plastic timing chain guides, failing air suspension struts, and electronic gremlins that cost thousands to diagnose. The third-generation Lexus RX 350, produced between 2010 and 2015, provides authentic acoustic silence disguised behind a legendary reliability record. Lexus engineered the RX chassis specifically to conquer noise, vibration, and harshness. The engineering team treated the cabin like a rolling recording studio. They packed the interior door panels, the hollow steel chassis pillars, and the firewall separating the engine bay with thick, dense acoustic sound, deadening foam. They applied heavy asphalt sheeting directly to the bare metal floor pan to absorb low-frequency tire drone radiating up from the pavement. Furthermore, they utilized specialized acoustic laminated glass for the front windshield and the side driver windows. This dual-pane glass sandwiches a microscopic layer of sound-absorbing polyvinyl resin between two sheets of silica glass, physically blocking high-frequency wind noise from penetrating the cabin. Lexus installed triple weather stripping around the door frames. When you close the heavy steel doors, the chaotic outside traffic completely vanishes. The vehicle seals you inside a pressurized vault. A retired couple in my neighborhood purchased a used 2013 Lexus RX 350. They frequently drive cross-country to visit their grandchildren in the Midwest. They previously owned a Mercedes-Benz crossover that completely drained their travel budget. That German vehicle suffered a catastrophic airmatic suspension failure, collapsing onto its own tires in a hotel parking lot. It cost them $4,000 in emergency air suspension repairs just to get home. They sold the German liability and bought the Lexus for $16,000 with 85,000 miles on the odometer. They have driven it back and forth across the country 4 times. The cabin remains dead silent at highway speeds. The premium leather seats provide orthopedic support for 10-hour driving stints, and the engine requires nothing more than routine synthetic oil changes. They arrive at their destination completely refreshed, rather than physically exhausted. The powertrain selection dictates the long-term reliability of this vehicle. The RX 350 utilizes the 2 GRFE 3.5-liter, naturally aspirated V6 engine. This engine is a masterpiece of smooth power delivery. It produces 270 horsepower, allowing the heavy vehicle to merge onto fast-moving interstates effortlessly. It utilizes simple port fuel injection, which prevents the carbon buildup that chokes modern direct-injected luxury vehicles. It features a heavy-duty steel timing chain that outlasts the chassis. Lexus paired this engine with the U660E 6-speed automatic transmission. This gearbox completely rejects the fragile, continuously variable transmission trend. It uses traditional planetary gear sets and heavy fluid torque converters to shift gears with imperceptible smoothness. The chassis engineering matches the powertrain. The suspension tuning favors soft compression and rebound damping over aggressive sport handling. Lexus utilized a highly refined double wishbone rear suspension setup. This independent geometry allows the rear wheels to articulate over massive potholes without transferring the kinetic shockwave into the passenger cabin. It ensures the vehicle glides over road imperfections, rather than transmitting the impact directly into the driver's spine. You float over broken asphalt. The interior layout avoids the modern trend of burying vital controls inside frustrating digital menus. Modern luxury vehicles force you to navigate 3 touchscreen menus just to adjust the fan speed. The RX center console features massive, clearly labeled physical buttons for the climate control, radio volume, and heated seats. You do not have to navigate a complex glass interface simply to turn on the windshield defroster. The shift lever sits high on the center console, falling naturally into the driver's hand without requiring them to reach far down between the seats. The gauges feature high contrast, oversized analog dials that remain perfectly readable in glaring sunlight. However, when inspecting this generation of Lexus on the used market, you must check the passenger side of the engine block for a specific oil leak. The timing chain cover on the 2 GRFE engine is sealed to the engine block using a liquid silicone gasket material applied by factory robots. Over thousands of thermal cycles, the silicone degrades near the power steering pump. The engine oil seeps past the compromised seal and drips down the side of the engine. Use a strong flashlight to look down the passenger side of the engine bay just behind the serpentine belt pulleys. If the bare metal block is caked in thick, black oil residue, the timing cover is leaking. Repairing this leak is incredibly labor-intensive because the mechanic must drop the entire front subframe and remove the engine from the chassis just to access the cover. It is a $2,000 repair. You must also check the rear shocks for fluid leaks, as the heavy chassis causes them to wear out around 100,000 miles. Find a clean, dry engine block with fresh shocks, and you secure a rolling luxury vault that will outlast you. Number 1. The 2008 to 2013 Toyota Highlander VR6. The vehicle that represents the ultimate intersection of indestructible engineering, perfect ergonomics, and utilitarian capacity. It is the second-generation Toyota Highlander, specifically the models equipped with the V6 engine, produced between 2008 and 2013. Dealerships constantly pressure older buyers into massive truck-based behemoths like the Chevrolet Tahoe or Ford Expedition. They claim you need a heavy V8 engine and a steel ladder frame to feel safe on the highway. The mechanical reality is that those trucks utilize solid rear axles and stiff leaf springs that transfer every single road imperfection directly into your lower back. On the opposite end of the market, salespeople push tiny compact crossovers that completely lack the physical cargo volume to carry a weekend's worth of garden supplies or transport antique furniture. Seniors often require a specific middle ground. They need a vehicle capable of carrying 4 adults in total comfort, hauling heavy bags of mulch, and perhaps towing a small utility trailer, all without the punishing ride quality of a heavy-duty work truck. The second-generation Highlander answers every single one of these strict demands perfectly. A customer of mine, a grandmother who lives near a large lake, needed a vehicle to tow her small, aluminum fishing boat. She previously owned a modern domestic crossover equipped with a fragile, continuously variable transmission. That transmission began slipping and shuddering at just 60,000 miles, leaving her terrified of massive repair bills on a fixed income. She brought me a 2010 Toyota Highlander V6 she found at a small independent car lot. It had 130,000 miles on the odometer and a price tag of $11,000. I put it on the shoplift and inspected the undercarriage with a fine-tooth comb. The heavy steel subframes showed zero rust, the rubber suspension bushings were completely intact, and the transmission fluid looked pristine. She bought the vehicle that exact day. She has used it to pull her boat out of steep, algae-covered boat ramps every single summer for 6 years. The heavy-duty geared transmission handles the towing load without generating excess thermal heat, and the mechanical all-wheel drive system provides relentless traction without requiring her to navigate complicated digital terrain mode menus. The secret to this unmatched comfort lies in the underlying chassis architecture. The second-generation Highlander shares its fundamental K platform with the Toyota Camry. This means it provides the smooth, predictable ride quality of a premium passenger sedan rather than the jarring bounce of a pickup truck. Toyota utilized independent McPherson struts at all 4 corners, tuning the coil spring rates specifically to absorb harsh road impacts. The physical ride height sits slightly taller than the RAV4. This specific geometric height gives the driver a commanding view of the highway without requiring an aftermarket running board to hoist yourself into the cabin. You simply turn your body, step sideways, and slide directly onto the driver's seat. The interior engineering represents peak Japanese practicality. The dashboard completely rejects the modern automotive obsession with burying vital controls inside distracting digital touchscreens. The climate controls utilize massive, tactile rotary dials. You can adjust the cabin temperature while wearing thick winter gloves without ever taking your eyes off the road. The second row features available captain's chairs, making it incredibly easy for adult passengers to walk directly into the third row seating area without wrestling with a heavy folding bench seat. When you need cargo space, the rear seats fold completely flat into the floor. This creates a cavernous storage area with a remarkably low liftover height, saving your lower back from strain when loading heavy groceries or mobility equipment. Under the hood sits the exact same legendary 2GRFE 3.5-liter V6 engine found in the premium Lexus RX. Toyota bolted this engine to the U15 1E 5-speed automatic transmission. This powertrain combination is famous within the global mechanic community for reaching 300,000 miles without ever requiring internal engine work. This engine delivers 270 horsepower, providing smooth, quiet torque for highway passing maneuvers. It utilizes a heavy-duty steel timing chain that never requires a costly replacement interval. It employs traditional port fuel injection, spraying liquid gasoline directly over the intake valves to wash away carbon buildup permanently. It ignores modern fuel-saving technologies like auto start-stop systems that prematurely wear out starter motors and drain 12-volt batteries. You turn the key, the engine starts, and it stays running until you safely reach your destination. The U151 E-transmission avoids the fragile steel push belts that plague modern vehicles. It utilizes traditional planetary gear sets and hydraulic clutch packs. If you drain and fill the transmission fluid every 60,000 miles, this gearbox will outlast the sheet metal surrounding it. It shifts with seamless transitions, providing linear power delivery without the rubber band hesitation found in newer crossovers. However, when you inspect a second-generation Highlander, there is one critical component you must check to prevent catastrophic engine failure. The early models utilized a rubber external oil cooler line for the variable valve timing system. This rubber line carries highly pressurized engine oil directly from the engine block. Over time, the constant thermal expansion and contraction causes the rubber to degrade, harden, and burst while driving down the highway. When the line bursts, the engine pumps all of its oil out onto the pavement in less than 60 seconds. The engine loses critical oil pressure, the internal bearings overheat, and the engine destroys itself before the driver can safely pull over to the shoulder. Toyota recognized this massive flaw and issued an updated part constructed entirely of rigid metal piping. When looking at a used Highlander on the lot, you must open the hood and look down at the lower passenger side of the engine block, directly near the oil filter housing. If you see a thick rubber hose wrapped in a yellow or black protective sleeve, the vehicle still has the defective line. You must have a mechanic replace it with the updated all-metal assembly immediately. It is a $200 repair that saves a $4,000 engine block. Furthermore, you must grab a flashlight and inspect the passenger side of the engine block for a secondary issue. The 2GRFE engine is known for minor water pump seepage. Look closely at the metal casing surrounding the water pump pulley. If you see a thick crust of dried pink coolant accumulating on the metal, the internal water pump seal is failing. It will not leave you stranded immediately, but it requires a replacement. A new water pump costs roughly $400 at an independent shop. Use that pink crust to negotiate the asking price down, schedule the repair, and secure the vehicle. Once the metal oil line is installed and the water pump is fresh, the vehicle becomes a bulletproof chariot that will effortlessly protect your retirement budget for the next decade. None of these 5 vehicles will impress your neighbors with flashy styling or massive digital screens. None of them feature complex autonomous driving software. What they have is something the modern automotive industry has completely forgotten how to build: They offer absolute simplicity, flawless ergonomics, and mechanical architecture that lasts. Next time a salesman tries to put you in a $70,000 luxury crossover with a fragile turbocharged engine, you know exactly what to do. Walk to the back of the lot and find one of these forgotten machines instead. If you want to secure a vehicle that protects your retirement savings and keeps you out of the repair shop, smash that subscribe button and like this video. We provide the honest mechanical truth the dealerships try to hide. There is a video popping up on your screen right now exposing 3 dirt cheap sport utility vehicles that effortlessly outlast brand new models. Click it before you forget. I will meet you over there. Drive safe, buy smart, and your vehicle will take care of you.